Welcome to UWS Weekly, a show that is dedicated to covering United Women's Soccer, a national pro-am league with your host, Jonathan Ward. Each and every week, we will highlight players, supporters, and staff of the clubs we all pride ourselves to support in North America. The UWS is a league that is committed to advancing women's soccer. Good evening, soccer fans, and welcome to UWS Weekly, a show dedicated to the best pro-am league in the world. My name is Jonathan, and tonight I'm actually excited to be joined by members of Lansing United for today's show. But before we get there, I actually have a special guest. So please welcome Bethany Balser to the show. Bethany, how are you, and how are things up in Seattle?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. And things in Seattle are great. It's currently pouring rain as usual, but it's been such a good preseason, and we're so excited to have more of a normal season this year, and we're just ready to go.
Awesome. Well, hey, you were once a member of this fantastic league. Can you give us some insight into your experience and how it's helped you at the next level?
Yeah, so I got to play with Grand Rapids FC, which is now Midwest United. And that was an incredible experience for me, just as someone coming from a smaller college in Spring Arbor, which is NAIA, to play with girls who went to bigger schools and maybe had just more experience. And so I really felt like I grew and evolved as a player from that league. And so I really attribute a lot of just my journey and my story to getting to the pros because of the UWS.
Awesome. Well, I also know that you have a special relationship with the two gentlemen from Lansing United that we have tonight. So why don't you do me a favor and you actually take the moment to introduce my two guests?
Yes, of course. So the first is someone who's been my main support system, done so many phone calls for me just to get my name out there to get to the league. So it's my college coach, Jason Crist. And the second is also someone who's been so influential for me now that I'm here in the pros, of taking me to that next level, is my agent, Jeremy Sampson.
Well, Jeremy and Jason, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Bethany, do you have any stories to share about these two gentlemen that you are on the seat now? So what can you tell us about these two guys?
Sadly, nothing but good things, I won't bring out all the crazy stories from college with Jason, but no, they've just been so incredible to me and want to see me succeed, want to see women's sports grow. And so to have people like that alongside me and doing this journey with me, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, Bethany, we thank you so much for taking the time to join us real quick and introduce my guests. We hope that you have a good rest of the evening. And if there's anything we can do, and if you need to come back on to put these guys in check, just jump back on.
Just make sure they don't say anything about me. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, we'll keep you close. And then if they do, we'll let you get on and straighten them out.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bethany. Have a great evening.
Bye.
All right, gentlemen, there we go. That was a good introduction. I'm actually really excited. So, Jason and Jeremy, can you do me a favor? Can you kind of give us a little information about yourselves and how you got started in the game that we all love?
Coach, why don't you start?
Okay, so I have never left the area that I'm in right now. I grew up kind of in this area in the shadow of Spring Arbor. I played high school soccer right up the road, was recruited by a few big D1s and actually committed at Western Michigan. And then in the spring of my senior year, went and came and trained with the Spring Arbor guys a few times and really felt something different kind of at this campus and pulled my commitment and ended up playing here. And I've never left. Got my degree from here, taught for a couple of years, and then got into coaching. Started in the high school ranks and the club ranks, and that kind of grew into varsity positions. And then I became the assistant here for a year and like kind of the recruiting coordinator, and took it over 22 years ago as the head coach. And I've been doing it since. Feel real blessed to work at a really great place. So.
Yeah. And for me, I didn't grow up playing a ton of soccer. I grew up in a very small town, and my high school didn't even offer soccer as an option. But really fell in love with watching the game at the highest levels for the men, and was involved in broadcasting here in the Lansing area, and saw a lot of different sports flourish, from minor league baseball to basketball to hockey, but nobody had tried soccer. So back in 2014, we started Lansing United on the men's side, had a lot of success there. And then in 2018, started the women's team in the UWS. And that's been a lot of fun, again, with our 2 seasons that we've had there in the UWS, and looking forward to a lot more. So, it's hard to believe that it's 2021 and we started back in 2014. They say time flies, and they're right. But we're excited to get back out on the pitch with the ladies again this summer.
So, Jeremy, I do have to ask, you kind of touched upon it a little bit, but what got you interested in starting the women's team back in 2018?
Well, really, Jonathan, the success of the men's team helped a little bit as we had kind of created a footprint in the area for a couple of years. And, people understood who Lansing United was. For me, more than anything else, I have a daughter who's now 16. She's a junior in high school, and wanted to make sure that she understood and knew that she would have the same opportunities that the guys do. And so that's really where, the idea was always there, but then it was trying to find the match, right? And there were a couple different leagues at the time that we were looking at starting the women's side. And once we got into the UWS and understanding what the league stood for, it was really kind of a no-brainer for us to decide that this is really the place that we wanted to be.
Awesome. Jason, you have been in the same position, same role as the head coach at Spring Arbor University for 22 years and been very successful. What made you want to add another title as Lansing United head coach to your CV?
Well, I got some contact from Jeremy, actually, through the men's head coach here, who at that time was coaching the Lansing United men. And it was one of those phone calls, we're starting a women's team. Do you know anybody? Kind of thing. And Nate asked me a couple times the same question. And I said, are you trying to get me to say I'm interested in doing it? And he said, well, I think that's what we're fishing for. And he got us kind of hooked up. And once I talked to Jeremy, and I can't even remember where we met. I think we met and got something to eat. I knew pretty much right away that I wanted to be involved. He's just a good leader of people. And so what makes Spring Arbor special is, I think, the culture that we've been able to create here. And I think Jeremy is very like-minded in how he thinks and really puts people first. And I want to be part of that. So it might not have been as much of a soccer decision as much as it was. I wanted to work with Jeremy, and it's turned out to be really great.
Jeremy, what has it been like, this ride, obviously with COVID kind of altering and halting the season that was for 2020, but 2018, 2019, very successful for, Lansing. What have you realized, or what has this ride been like post-COVID to try to get this team back to where it was in 2019?
It's been a little bit of a challenge, and I think there's still some unknowns at this point. But we're excited to actually have the opportunity to play again. Detroit City put on that great showcase last year, and that allowed our ladies to get on the field and play a couple of games last summer, which we felt very, very fortunate that we were able to do. So we're excited. We're excited that we will have the opportunity and the ability to go out and play again this summer.
Jason, what has it been like to lead the Cougars this year after all the COVID issues, and how has that experience helped you prepare for the upcoming UWS season, where you're going to face some trials and tribulations as it relates to COVID?
Yeah, I think flexibility is the key word, right? Like, everything is so fluid and dynamic right now that our particular league, some of the NAI decided to wait and forego their games until spring. Some of the leagues played in the fall. The Crossroads League played in the fall. So we pretty much came into a regular season. And the very first day that we had students on campus, 2 of our players tested positive. And it was the second day of preseason. It shut down half our team. So we lost all of our preseason and then went into our first match on 2 days, like 2 training sessions. Whereas other teams had been practicing right along. So it's just one of those things where, we've had to be really super fluid. I've learned that you've got to learn to take things as they come, and that the rosters this summer, they may fluctuate depending on who's available. And summer's always like that to some extent anyways. You've got people traveling and you've got people at weddings and those kind of things. But this year might be a really exceptional year as far as like you'd have people that run into issues and aren't able to play for a while. And so building the roster, I think that's part of the preparation for it. But then the rest of it is also just going in with a flexible attitude and making sure the players have a flexible attitude, because that the COVID era has required flexibility.
Awesome. Hey, so Jeremy, can you explain the quote, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care"? I've seen that on your Twitter, and I've actually heard you say it a few times. Can you give us some insight into that?
It's really something that is one of the mottos that I like to live by. And I think Jason kind of touched on it a little bit, even, going back to starting on the men's side in 2014, everything that we've done with Lansing United has been very family oriented, from my family and my extended family who help out at home games, whether it's taking tickets or handing out programs or whatever it might be. And really that's the culture that we wanted to provide for the players, is one that is very family oriented. And, all of these players are very talented. They come from various different backgrounds. But when they put that shirt on, they're a part of our family. And we want them to know, good, bad, ups, downs, wins, losses, like, we care about them. We care about, how they perform, how they improve. But we also care about them as individuals, not just players. And we've had players who have done internships with us after they've done playing, and they're looking for job references and those types of things. We're happy to help with those too. So I think, that's part of again, Jason touched on it, and why I think the two of us align so well is we're as competitive as any two people you'll ever meet. But at the end of the day, there's a lot more that you can learn as an individual through sports than just winning and losing. And there's a certain culture that we try and create here in Lansing. And I think our on the field success is because we've had very, very talented players and a great coaching staff. But that mentality has brought the group together in a short period of time. And chemistry, you can't fake it. You either have it or you don't. And we've been able to show our groups how much we care about them. And I think that's helped the team chemistry a lot.
Awesome. Well, Jason, I have to ask, I've seen you quote Gino Auriemma a few times from UConn, and you do wear multiple hats at the college as well as GM and head coach for Lansing United. But what coach do you admire in sports that you've learned from the most, seeing that you wear these multiple hats?
Yeah, I mean, when you work at a small school, like I rounding up the players is just kind of part of the thing you do in college, right? Like recruiting is the lifeblood of any college program. But even just my job here has evolved through the years. I was the sports information director, so I'm, super involved with the media end of things and all of that. As far as like that piece of it, I think Jeremy makes it really easy. My job description is relatively limited. I build the roster up, I make sure the players are registered, and I coach them up and assemble the staff. He takes care of everything else. And so I think the general manager term is something he gave me kindly. But for me, like that's just part of what I've grown up doing as a coach. I've always had multiple pokers in the fire at the same time. It's not anything different. My family is very accustomed to it. My wife is a saint. And so she knows that when I took the job, I was like, hey, soccer season, just got another 3 months longer. She was like, great, but she's at the matches. And like Jeremy said, it's a family deal, right? And so it's very common that his kids are going to be there, and my kids are going to be there. And it kind of all blends in with the team. My kids are eating pizza with the girls after the match. And Like that's kind of the atmosphere that has been created. I think Jeremy already had that, and it's just something, like I said, I felt it when I met him, and that's the kind of atmosphere that I flourish in. So I wanted to be part of that.
So we had a special guest who introduced you guys. Can you guys both give us some insight into Bethany Balser and what and how maybe you helped get her to the next level, or is this just she is a hard worker who worked her way to the best?
I'll start, Jeremy, and you can take the latter stages. All right. So perfect. Beth's sister played for me here at Spring Arbor. That's how I met her. She was 5'2" when I met her, and gangly and very clumsy. But you could see inside of her that there was a lot, that she had a lot going for her. We were able to sign her early in her junior year and nabbed her up before. I mean, she was already scoring a lot of goals, but in her senior year, she really exploded as a high school player. And we already had the deal signed at that point. So she came to Spring Arbor, was the NAI Player of the Year as a freshman, which had never been done before, led us to a national championship. Now, granted, she had great players around her also, but, she was the piece that took us to the top. And I've just developed a great relationship with Bethany through the years. And it's halfway through her college career, I think maybe she was at, it might have been the summer before she played for Grand Rapids. She came into my office one day and said, "Coach, do I need to leave Spring Arbor if I'm going to be a pro?" And I said, Beth, that's a tough question. We'd have a lot of players that had gone on and played in Europe, in Germany and Sweden and places like that. But we had never put anybody in the NWSL. Nobody had done that from the NAI level. And I said, we want you to be here. You're a huge piece of who we are. But if you need to go on, I'll help you go on to a bigger school if that's what you need to do. But the thing that's really unique about Bethany is that she was here for more than, it wasn't just soccer that brought her to Spring Arbor. This place fits her really well as a person. And she has a really, she sees things from a bigger perspective than just soccer. And so she was in a couple days later and she said, "Coach, I want to stay at Spring Arbor. I want to be a pro." And I said, "All right, well, let's start working on how to do that." So the first summer we got her hooked up with Grand Rapids. Lansing didn't have a team at that point. She went over there, and I remember there were several players from my team that went over to the tryouts. Grand Rapids was just starting their women's team up. And the coach at the time was like, "Yeah, I don't know that she's going to play." And I was like, okay. I knew what she could do. So she got out there in the first couple matches. She played wide in the wide midfield and just got a few minutes. And then they put her at the target forward. And she scored 5 consecutive hat tricks in her first year with the team. And once they figured out that she just was a goal scoring machine, then of course it was Bethany this and Bethany that. And so the next year we tried to get her into a market where there would be, we wanted to get her out of Michigan, kind of out of the Midwest. And so we sent her out to Seattle. I have some contacts out there, and we got her in with the Sounders. And because there was an overlap at that point between the Reigns coaching staff and the Sounders coaching staff. And we wanted to get her in front of some people that could get her to the people she needed to see. She had a great year with the Sounders. We got her hooked up with some people while she was out there, and then worked her towards the draft the following year. She wasn't drafted. I know she was on a couple draft boards, which was cool. I was at the draft with her. And we got her a couple of invitations directly after that to camps. And that's where she took the torch and ran with it. She got out she's like, "I want to go to Seattle." She went to Chicago's camp, didn't get the right vibe there. She's like, "I want to go try Seattle." Went out there and met Vlatko Andonovski. And Vlatko is a similar mind. He's a great soccer mind, but he's a similar person probably to Jeremy and myself. He sees people and not players. And so he really gave her a shake where maybe some other coaches might not. And it's a funny story. If you're ever on the show, ask her about it, but she was almost cut after her first day but scored a nice goal, stayed in camp. And the rest is history. She's just a really hardworking kid and has a super high ceiling. So I think she's not even close to it yet. So that was my part in it. And at some point along the line, she needed a contract negotiated. And I called Jeremy and I was like, "Listen, man, I can help with the soccer connections. I know some people. I need you to take a look at her contracts. Can you help me out?" And he's like, "Sure, I'll talk to her." And I got them hooked up, and they're a great team as well. I think they're very like-minded also. So Jeremy, that's my part of it.
Yeah. And, I had some experience on the professional side as the the vice president, general manager of Lansing Ignite in USL League One. And part of what my duties there were handling the contracts of all of our players. So I was familiar with what a professional soccer contract looked like and some of the different things that on both sides that you would want to look at, whether you were on the club side or you were on the player side. And so when Jason mentioned, we get together and Bethany and I sat down and talked, and, I realized what her goals were. I said, I'd be happy to help you. And I think, as we went through that process with her, it was a learning experience for both of us, but a really good one. And, Bill Predmore and the folks with OL Reign, have done a great job out there and have treated Beth very well. At the time, we signed a 4-year contract for her, and I still think that's the longest contract that any player's ever signed in the NWSL. So, again, I feel very fortunate to get a chance to work with her on a daily basis. I mean, Jason touched on some of her traits. She is so driven, and I think, again, working with people like that kind of helps keep you motivated. Certainly keeps me young and keeps me want to keep going and help her. So my role for her is really just, that of an advisor, to make sure that, she has all the off the field stuff taken care of so that she can focus on what she needs to do on the field. And that's really where I come in and try and help her.
Sounds like there's a lot of good things going, and Bethany is going to be a bright star for the NWSL going forward, and we hope that she continues to grow, and it sounds like she will. But I have to ask, it's a new year. Everybody's starting from scratch. What excites you most heading into this season, gentlemen?
I think, first of all, again, having the opportunity to play. I miss the matches. I miss, the home matches, the crowd, our supporters. I miss the competition, and, I miss being around Jason and being around the team, being able to go to a training session and watch how hard they work and then watch them come together on a match day. So I think, again, Jonathan, just having the ability this year to play some matches in whatever that form looks like, right? We'd all like to get our 10 matches in, and we certainly hope we can do that. But whatever it comes out to be at the end, just having the ability to get back out on the team, back out on the field and be around the team again will be exciting.
From my perspective, it's unique for me. There are a few small school players that play inside our club, but there are also a lot of, major D1 Power 5 kids. And so for me, that's fun to see how that blends. I always, I've done a lot of work with ODP and all of that kind of stuff in my past, but to know where my collegiate players stack up with, say, Michigan State's players, or, we had Zoe Morse in the club, and who was the center back of Virginia, now as a starter at Chicago. Just to know, for me, that's a unique thing as a coach, to see where my players plug in at. It's a new group of players again this year, some familiar faces, some new ones. And to me, that's the exciting part, is like putting it together like a puzzle, right? Like how do we get the right pieces so that at the end of the season, we're where we need to be and that we've had a successful summer.
Nice. So Jeremy, moving into some club questions, club specific for you guys. What drew the organization to the UWS?
I think as I sat down and I talked to Joe about what the UWS stood for, Joe Ferrara, and really understood where the league was back in 2017 when we started the discussions, and then jumping in 2018 and where they wanted to go. I think our values as a club aligned with the league really, really well, and understanding that it was still in its infancy back in 2018 and it continues to grow to this day. And really for us, the other carrot was really the number of clubs that are in the state of Michigan. And as anybody will tell you who runs one of these clubs, that, travel expenses can be, one of the largest expenses on your books. And knowing that when we did go to road games that we could do so, and it would be 45 minutes to an hour and a half away, versus, 3, 4, 5 hours made a huge difference. And, Grand Rapids was already in the league, and being able to talk to them and understanding, what the league stood for, what their experiences were like. I think everything just lined up, and I'm really glad we made the decision that we made. I've been involved in almost 6 different leagues now since we've started, and the UWS is right at the top of the list with the way that things are run and the way they take care of their clubs. So really, really happy with our decision.
So the club has an adopted motto. What is that motto, and how do you two represent those values?
Yeah, it's Latin, so don't ask me to pronounce it because I always butcher it. But the phrase means with connected strength. And as we were, back in 2013, putting together what we wanted Lansing United to really stand for, we kind of came up with pride, passion, and unity. Like those were the pillars of what our club stood for. The pride in putting on the jersey, the passion, not only from the players and how they played the match, but the passion that our supporters, the ransom, brought. And then the unity is kind of tying in a lot of things. It's tying in the front office with the coaching staff, with the players, with the supporters, with the community, and really trying to bring everybody together to pull on the rope in the same direction for one cause. And then with the connected strength, just kind of tied into those 3 pillars. So, really, I look back on it now, and I'm really glad that that's what we chose for our club to stand for. I think over the years we've done a good job of representing our core values.
Yeah, I think those things were in place when I came into the scene, but it was pretty easy for me to see that. The thing that I admired most about what I saw is that while Jeremy had his hand in everything, none of it was about him. And to me, that is super attractive. That's a super attractive place to work. That's how I try to run things here. Like no coach ever scored a goal or won a championship. Like soccer is the players' game. The players make the game. The coaches try to give them a framework and organize them, and then they just get out of the way and let the players play. And I think that's how Jeremy runs his organization, is he tries to get good people around him, and he provides a good framework for them, and then he lets people be excellent at what they're good at. And that's super exciting to be a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
So 2 years in the league, 2 playoff appearances. Obviously, this past year we didn't have any soccer, but what can you attribute to that early success of the club?
Jason Crist, he. Well, I mean, and Jason's very modest, right? But one of the things, and one of the things I like to take pride in is I've hired 3 head coaches. And I think we've had some success with all those coaches. And I think when you sit down with somebody, you really understand, what they're about. And Jason won't take a lot of credit for it, but he's the one who does build the roster. And yeah, there are a lot of things that have to come together. The players have to perform, certainly, but he's the one who's really found that right mix. Not only of the players that we bring in, it's bringing in the right players, skill-wise, but also attitude-wise, and those kind of things. And so when if you would have told me after 2 years that we would lose 1 regular season game in 2 years, I'd tell you that's a run like clubs don't have very often. And again, it's a testament to Jason and his staff, and it's a testament to the players that we've had who put on the Lansing United uniform and have performed so wonderfully over the past couple of years. So they really get all the credit.
And my answer to that is I'm a coach, so no game matters but the last one, right? And so for us, it's been the summers have been fantastic. Jeremy hit it right on the head. Like when I'm looking to try and get people involved, I do a lot of recruiting through networking. To be fair, I'm a lot more interested in the person that I'm bringing in than I am the player. Obviously, we want talented kids, but we want kids that fit the organization. Like that's That's what we're after. And the chemistry, like Jeremy said, is kind of the secret sauce, right? You get talented in, and if the talented players all love playing together and they love being together and they love the owner and they love the club, then they're going to perform well. And that's kind of where the players have really brought us to where we're at. So for me, it's them. I enjoy working with them. I can't wait to see some of them. It's been a hot second since I've seen a lot of those girls, and I'll be really excited when we get the first training session rolling again. It's all about the players.
And I think, Jonathan, the other piece that goes along with that is we're blessed in this area in Lansing to have a lot of really, really talented female soccer players. Our local high schools and clubs churn out a lot of talented players, and we've had a great relationship with Michigan State University and their coaching staff, and that's allowed us to really build that roster. But, we're blessed that this area is very talent rich.
That's one of the questions coming up, but I guess we'll just go ahead and ask that now is, how does the number of teams in Michigan impact the club's ability to identify players and then bring them on or even keep current players on the roster during the summer?
This is where the networking comes in a little bit. Lansing is a superb town. It sits right in the middle of the state. And if you go an hour to the west, you have Grand Rapids, which is a soccer hotbed. If you go an hour to the east, you've got Detroit, which is a soccer hotbed. Lansing in of itself produces some great players, like Jeremy said, but it's a smaller area. And so when you start adding teams in, right, it's like DCFC's in there now, and we're adding teams in. Well, there's a limited amount of talent in the state, certainly. And we're blessed to be right in the shadow of Michigan State. So that's amazing. And we're able to get a lot of help from the girls and from the coaching staff there to help build our roster. But a lot of those kids are homegrown talent. Some of them live on the west side. Some of them live on the east side. So for us, it's about like getting those connections and getting kids to realize that Lansing is a special enough place to play, even if they might have to make a bit of a drive to do it, because there's opportunities right in their backyard with clubs. We've been able to be pretty successful with that. And again, I think that's a culture thing. Like the culture's been really good when the players play for a summer and they go back to their college teams, everything they speak about is great. And I don't think every club can say that. We're a club that is going to really protect our players, and we're not going to send them back to their universities hurt. We're not going to play them through injury. We're not going to overtrain them. We're not going to overwork them chasing a trophy. Our job is to try and create something excellent, but also send them back to their college programs like hungry and sharp and fit. And so developing those relationships with those coaches so that we can be trusted as an organization has been part of what I've had to work at. But then also just building the network within the players so that when they go back and talk to their friends from their clubs or from their universities, they're like, yeah, Lansing is amazing. Playing in Lansing is amazing. And once that word gets out a little bit, it makes the recruiting process a little easier.
Jeremy, anything to add?
No, I think Jason kind of hit it right on the head, and we've touched on it a little bit. I think that last point is a very good one, and one we haven't talked about, and it's something that we really talked about on the men's side when we started in 2014. Is the soccer community is such a small one, and especially on the player side, that you want to give the players a really good experience. And so that they do talk a lot, and you want them to be able to go back to their school or their coach, whether it's their club coach, their college coach, their high school coach, and talk about the experience that they had. And again, that's a part of our culture is making sure that we put them in the best possible situations. We don't overtrain them. Our goal is, again, we'd love to win trophies. We love to win games, but our goal is really to help them continue their development and make sure that when they finish with our season, they're ready to jump right in with their college teams and they're ready to go. And they've gotten better over the last couple of months.
Well, with that in mind, you've had one loss in the first 2 years of existence in the league. How, with this COVID break that we've had for the past year or so, how are you going to measure success this season? Is it finally getting over that hurdle and winning a championship? Is it getting to the championship? Is it just making sure that you see progress from your players? What is the measure?
I think, sure, we all have goals that we want to win championships, but that's not how we measure as a club what a successful season is. I talked about it a couple of seconds ago, and I'll hit on it again. Like the growth of our players and making sure that when they're done, playing for Lansing United, that they're going back a better player than they were, when they got to us in May. And that's about creating the right environment for them during those training sessions with Jason and the coaching staff does. I think this year is a little bit different with COVID. And again, if we're able to just get on the field and play some competitive matches, that will be a successful year for me. And, again, there's a lot of circumstances on why that didn't happen last year, many of which were out of our control. We all wanted to play, but it wasn't the most prudent thing to do to play last summer. It just wasn't. And as disappointed, I have never seen so many long faces in my life than when we had our Zoom call, last March, April, Jason, right? And we told the players that we weren't going to field a team for the summer. They were really disappointed. And so I think just being able to get back out on the field this year will certainly be successful for us. So we don't measure success, Jonathan, by trophies. We don't do it.
We don't, but we want to win some. I agree with Jeremy wholeheartly. Like when I got into it, that was one of the things that I told them is like, hey, I'm going to approach this with my college hat on. Like this is how I've had players go off and play in the summer in the W League and in different leagues. And I've had some come back like raring to go and like sharp and fit. I've had others come back used up and hurt. We wanted to provide an experience for our players where they were hungry for more the next summer, but they're ready to go in the fall, and their college coaches were supremely happy with the experience that they had during the summer. So for us, we want to provide that again this year for our players who want to make them better. And if we can win a trophy while we're doing that, then it'll be great.
So you're both our girl dads. And so talking about that youth development and kind of having them around the club, what is the strategy for the organization as it concerns youth development going forward to perhaps bring them in and play with Lansing United?
Well, I think more than anything else, Jonathan, our development around youth is about introducing as many players, whether they be, young girls or young boys, to the game at a high level. And that's what we want to do. We, as a club, we make a point to make sure that we offer the ability for young players to come watch games at no cost, whether that's through a club night or a sponsored ticket event, whatever it may be. Our goal is really to introduce the game to young players and see it played at a very high level. And there's dozens of stories of young kids who sit as close to the field as possible because they just soak it all in and get done. And you hear them talk to mom and dad about, I want to play for Lansing United and those kind of things. So that's really what our goal is on the youth side is just that introduction. Like I said, there's so many players in our areas. It's just to make sure that we're providing them that opportunity to see the game played at a very high level.
Yeah, it is. It's a neat thing to watch when the kids do sit right up on the ropes and they idolize some of the players for sure. There are a few players that are fan favorites and kid favorites, and Jeremy's going to be really modest, but he's got a daughter who's a pretty good player. And so you may see her featured now and again in the Lansing hoops. She's dressed for a few matches and she's kind of headed that direction. So he won't tell you that, but she's pretty good.
Well, as the head coach and GM, that's your job to make sure she gets there, right?
I want to keep my job. She's got to hit the travel roster a couple times.
That's true. That's true. So what should fans be excited about or looking forward to this coming year, provided they're able to have the opportunity to come out and watch a match?
Yeah, I think, we're still working on what our match day experience is like, and we're going to continue to follow the guidelines set forth by the state of Michigan as far as, fans, how many fans we can have at a game. There are some limitations right now. We're hoping that could open up a little bit by the time that May rolls around and we're hosting some games. But really, we've kind of found a little bit of a secret sauce in what our match day experiences look like. And, other than some potential changes with how many people we can have there, we're not going to mess with that recipe too much. It's really about providing a great atmosphere for our fans. I think we're fortunate that the stadium that we play at the East Lansing Soccer Complex is a very intimate setting. Jonathan, the bleachers are 4 yards away from the touchline. And so you are, as a fan, like right in the action. And I think it's a huge part of it. And it has been since the beginning. You're not in a large like football stadium with a track around it where you're set away from the action. You're right there. And I think that that leads to a very fun experience for the fans. And, you throw in a couple of fun things like, whether you're bringing in different food trucks and different options for that for games, or you're bringing in, some fun halftime activities and different things that we do just to try and make it a great experience for the fans when they come as well.
Awesome. Jason, anything to add, or you just
It's a good environment. Once the smoke starts pouring out of the stands, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Michigan and smoke, man, and with the smoke bot in Detroit, and then obviously the smoke and the flares at with Lansing United. This is gonna be a fun year. I'm really excited to hopefully see fans in the stands. It should be a good time. Well, guys, we have a segment on the show. It's Facts for Flan. Troy Flannery, who's the head coach at Impact up in St. Albert, has some questions he wants to have answered every week. So we figured we'd give him a little platform to ask. And the first one is, can you name the top 3 differences between the 3 Lansings: Lansing, Michigan, Lansing, Illinois, and Lansing, Pennsylvania?
I can tell you that Lansing, Michigan is tops on that list by far, not even close. Probably the biggest difference is that Lansing is a capital city and the other 2 are not.
He's saying when you Google this, I just got a text from him. He says when you Google it, it doesn't even show up.
Lansing, Michigan?
He says Lansing, Michigan doesn't show up. The other 2 do. So
you need to go to Wikipedia. On Wikipedia, if you pull up Lansing, Michigan, Wikipedia, it says home of Jeremy Sampson. That's what it's got in Wikipedia.
There we go. And then Jason, as the head coach at GM, obviously head coaches can manipulate the game and the ball like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. What is your preferred length of grass on the pitch for Lansing United matches?
Who are we playing?
Fair enough.
We actually, at Spring Arbor here, we play on turf. I prefer it to be kept close. Lansing Soccer Complex does a really nice job of keeping the field really in great shape for our players to play on. It's a great surface, so we like it nice and short here. Like to play quick.
Awesome. All right, well, let's move on to the next thing. It's called the hot seat. Producer Joe Johnstone puts together a couple of questions. Go ahead and answer these as fast as possible. His first question for you is, what is your favorite movie?
Tombstone.
Moneyball.
What advice would you give a younger you?
Be patient.
Finish school the first time.
Fair enough. What is your spirit animal?
Tiger.
Bethany would say a sloth. I'm going to go with a cougar.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my goodness. I have no idea. What do I want to be remembered for? Being somebody who was able to bring people together. I love being a part of a team. So I think that's something I'd like to be remembered for.
I just want to be remembered for the investment and that I've had in people over the years, like outside of the game. Soccer is great, and I love coaching soccer, and I'm a diehard guy. But people are people, and players are people too.
And then before we move on to Beyond the Pitch, where we're going to give you guys some opportunity to talk about what the club is doing outside of the ropes, what does community mean to you?
I think, community for us is huge. And really the Lansing community has wrapped their arms around Lansing United since we started back in 2014. And I'm especially appreciative of how they've wrapped their arms around our women's team. That was a bit of an unknown when we started a couple of years ago, but what the community has shown for us has been tremendous. And then as a club, again, we want to give back to the community as much as possible. So making sure that our players are out in the community, they're doing things, whether it's with youth teams or they're volunteering at local events. We want to be involved as much as possible.
And I would mirror that. I think community just means putting yourself aside for the greater good. And when a group of people can do that together, then you've got a great community. I think Jeremy hit it right on the head. Lansing's a great community.
So our last segment with you guys this evening, before I let you sign off, this segment is dedicated to highlighting individuals, clubs, organizations who are doing awesome things away from the field. This could be a supporter, club staff, club, or even a player going further to support their community. And I just want to highlight, and I'll let you guys talk about it, but I was made aware that the club had recently donated a good amount of money to a cancer research center and another research center in the Lansing area. So can you guys kind of give me some insight into that, as well as the impact that the club is having in the community?
Yeah, so we're blessed here in the Lansing area with a couple of really great, hospitals. We have Sparrow Hospital, and then, McLaren, who is building a new hospital that'll be ready in our area in 2022. And that's going to absolutely be a state-of-the-art facility. And they've got a partnership with Michigan State. It's just a shot in the arm for our community, and kudos to everybody at McLaren for what they've done to really get that project off the ground. It's set right off the highway. It's fun to drive by all the time and see the progress from that building. But a couple of years ago, Sparrow built a cancer center in Lansing, which was groundbreaking, really, because if there were people that lived in this area that needed to go for treatments for cancer, they would have to drive a very long way, whether it be Detroit or out of state. And so having something right here in our region was really important. And when I found out about that, I wanted to see how we could get involved. And so, in talking with the people there at Sparrow, we decided that we would donate $5,000 from the club to that cancer research center. And it's taken us a couple of years to be able to fulfill that commitment. But last year we were able to get across the finish line with that, complete our donation. And it's something I'm proud of. It's something the club is proud of, that, we talk about community, we talk about giving back. And to be a part of that cancer center and what they do there. I've had family members who've been treated there. It's very meaningful for us to be a very small piece of that, but at the same time, it does mean a lot.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys giving me the time this evening to talk to you. How can people find out more about Lansing United and possibly getting involved this upcoming season?
I see you guys have been taking care of our Twitter down at the bottom of the screen, and that's much appreciated. If you search Lansing United on Twitter, on Facebook, you're going to see a lot of information about the club. landunited.com is our website. I'm excited. This is the time of year when we really get excited about the season. We'll be releasing our schedule very soon with the dates. We'll be talking. We haven't released any of our players yet. We'll be doing that here in the very near future as we start talking about our roster. So all those social media channels and our website will have all the pertinent information along with how you can get tickets to games and all those things right on our website.
Sounds good. Jason, anything to add this evening before I let you guys get on with recruiting and preparing for the 2021 campaign?
Thanks for having us on. It's been great to talk with you.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys giving me the honor and opportunity to talk to you and Bethany as well. I hope that you guys have a fantastic season, and I look forward to potentially getting out to Lansing for a match this summer.
Yeah, Jonathan, we'd love to host you, and on behalf of our club, thank you for everything that you're doing for women's soccer. I think the addition of things like this show and giving each club a platform to be able to talk about what we're doing in our individual communities is really unheard of at this level. So I want to thank you. I know a lot of work goes into it, so I want to thank you for all your efforts. And absolutely, we look forward to hosting you in Lansing very soon.
Awesome. Well, have a great evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, let's get into some league news. A special thanks before we do to Jason and Jeremy for taking the time to join us this evening. I know schedules are busy, and for them to give us that much time is a privilege. And so thank you to you two gentlemen, as well as Bethany, for stepping in and doing the introduction of those two fine individuals. So league news, UWS and VO have entered into an innovative marketing partnership that will help the National Pro-Am League's member teams take their game analysis to the next level. VO, the official video supplier of UWS, is a portable and affordable sports camera that enables teams to record and analyze games and practices without the need of a video operator or camera operator. Using a smart device, the user can start and stop the video recording, and once the game is over, upload it to the VO online platform. The player can create their own highlights, and the coach can review the overall performance of their team. UWS requires its members, our member teams, to record all their games, and with this agreement, both organizations will continue to push the boundaries towards the future of sports recording and analysis. The UWS VO partnership will provide UWS teams with a convenient recording solution to capture the fine details of our competitive and training environments, while amplifying those insights for our technical leadership and players. VO's best-in-class HD recording and AI analysis will be an invaluable tool toward maximizing our UWS player performances and team structures, and we look forward to this partnership implementing VO's value throughout our national platform. Expansion again hits the ground running as the Lone Star Republic women's team joins UWS. The team was founded in the summer of 2020 and is the latest expansion side to join the Southwest Conference of UWS. The organization is based out of Richardson, Texas, in the Dallas suburbs, and will play their home games at Green Hill School in Addison. Lone Star Republic also fields multiple men's teams that have competed in the Dallas Soccer Alliance, NISA Independent Cup, U.S. Open Cup qualifying, and the UPSL. The women's and men's teams will be managed by former professional players and U.S. national team members Casey and Zach Lloyd. Thank you so much for taking the time this evening to watch the show featuring Lansing United. Stay tuned for some exciting things coming from the league this month in honor of Women's History Month. You can follow all things UWS and UWS2 on their social media pages and send your questions for future shows as well. So until next Thursday, have a great evening, weekend, and cheers, everyone.